Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Inters Racing League. Welcome back to Inters Racing League. Welcome to Tier 1, round number 4 for the Belgium Grand Prix. I am not joined alone here in the commentary box. Joining me in the virtual commentary box is the wonderful, talented J-Man, or just Jaden for that matter. Mate, how are you on a fantastic sunny day here in Belgium as we approach into qualifying?
Yeah, thank you very much, Jamie. I'm very well, thank you. Very excited to get this underway. And Tier 1 especially, it's the top standard of Inters Racing League, and we're out at Spa, which is one of the newer re-scanned tracks for this game as well, which is sure to provide a bit of a exciting test for everyone as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In the past couple of rounds, it has been exciting, enthralling, and incredibly close action, as it always has been for Tier 1. Obviously, if you have a look at the driver's standings now on the screen, Websy currently leading with 88 points to the board, but in close in close contention is P2 of the Williams of Finns on 78 points, 10 points behind, and both of them scoring solid podiums, both with a win to their name, actually. Websy with 2 wins to his name and been on the podium every single round that we have gone racing, and sees himself in the top spot, but Finns will continue to try and challenge his opportunity into the top spot in the championship as we approach into round 5. But first we have round 4 here at Belgium, qualifying continuing to take place. Have a quick look at the Constructors' Championship as well as this continues to unfold here. Sorry, just getting used to this whole overlay thing. Hopefully I'm doing a good job. And there you can see Williams in P1, 104 points to his name. McLaren in P2 with VCarb and P3. Yusuf has been the stepping stone for Racing Bulls. Unfortunately, he hasn't had the consistency in the race. Currently sees himself in P7. And so VCarb as well as Yusuf looking for a good result here tonight. But I think we've done enough waffling about the championships, both drivers and constructors. You guys want to see some action? You can hear the engines in the background. 14 minutes, 56 seconds on the clock, and we shall switch over to the race for some fantastic action ahead, Jaden. And right now, as you can see, McLaren just starting to continue through the chicane, but it's actually GLX Cam who's currently pushing on a lap.
Yes, you're right. Sorry, I did just see an Alpine impeded further up the road there, so I think it was K5 that ended up having a spin up to down the Kemmel Straight there. So hopefully no damage, but unfortunately that has caused some issues. Looking at the Ferrari of GLX Cam here though, actually I think it's just another warm up.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Because considering the fact that the battery is still at 100%, still not pushing it to fullest extent at what that Ferrari can do. He's also invalidated on this lap time round, and I believe that was at the exit of Pouon at the next corner. So clearly just finding where the absolute limits of where he can push can be, and he's done exactly that by invalidating on that time round. Let's currently look at other drivers continuing to push out from their outlap, currently on their push laps. Aiden Rizium's in P16, the Haas was pushing, invalidated, so he stays where he is with no time on the board. Mr. Cool Cars in the Red Bull let's go on board. Final couple of 17 flat to the floor of it before eventually going into the bus stop chicane. You find rotation through Apex to then go into the next, open up the corner before once again opening up the DRS, and that's a 143.649 to get us going. And to see that there is still predominantly 13 minutes on the clock and a 143 already set down. We should be going into the 142s pretty easily here, Jaden.
Yeah, it's looking very solid from the Tier 1 drivers at the moment. A very strong banker lap from Mr. Cool Cars there, so really positive signs there. In the meantime, Yusuf in the RB has just kicked off the Kemmel Straight with the DRS open, flying down there. And as we've mentioned, he needs a good result, Yusuf. He's start to the season by his standards. We know what kind of he is, so hopefully can find a way, and it's all starting on this qualifying lap. and through the technical middle sector of the Belgian Grand Prix. Obviously, very low downforce makes it a little bit more difficult for these cars to manoeuvre their way through, as Shawnee set that provisional pole, quickly knocked off, though, by, I believe that's Soutsy in the Mercedes. Sorry if I butchered that, but Yusuf on their way now, and looking very solid, and just hugging to the inside through there. It's looking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right now, currently on board for the V-Carb of Yusuf, and it was Saucity in the Mercedes who went and set down a 142.773 on the board. Pretty predominant lap time there from the Mercedes, the first one into the 142s, and the V-Carb in P7 continuing into the third and final sector as he goes back up towards the top of the hill and going into the bus stop chicane, using a little bit of the sausage curb, which can help you, but then you can also bottom up if you use too much and you turn in too early. But a 142.165, nearly into the 141s, and Yusuf Goat setting down a fantastic time on the board, which is incredibly and quite simply much quicker than the rest of the field compared to anyone else on circuit for the time being.
Yeah, there it is. That is the lap we were looking for. Checkered flag as well on the other so and they'll be hoping to continue that. Looking makes his way through, and yeah, really positive for the. Both of them actually had a sluggish start to the season. Checkered flag as well. They are both very formidable drivers. So through the middle sector in that Red Bull, and now out onto the curb. You don't want to clip that inside curb. Ever since the new hand, Apollo Pepsi keeping a nice tight line, and now to the bus stop chicane as Websy now, and the McLaren has gone fastest, the championship leader. Apollo Pepsi didn't get the perfect exit out of the final corner. It's still going to be a decent lap though, 42.7 to round out his banker.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Apologies for any type of stream problems. I have just done a quick fix, which should have fixed any problems with light stream. It just bugged out momentarily, but should be good now. Cade McIntyre in the Aston Martin P11 as he approaches into Paul Ferrer at turns 14 and 15. Actually, Campus being turn 14, but getting the throttle down, making sure to and avoid any type of overzealousy onto the throttle, and doing a fantastic job so far. The Aston Martin now going into Blanchamont. I believe that was also ST Blicky going up into P3 at 142.446. Good from the kick. Sauber and Finns in P5. The championship contender in P2 only in that position for the time being, but I'm sure he'll be wanting to try and push himself up a little bit quicker and a little bit higher. And P6 on the board for the Aston Martin, Cade McIntyre, who now sets down that time of 42.771. GLX Cam in the Ferrari continuing to push along here, Jaden.
Yep, exactly right. Cade McIntyre with a nice little lap there into P6. Slow start for him. He's only had the one race, one DNF, so he'll be hoping for a bit of an improvement this afternoon, and what an opportunity here at Belgium. It's a lovely track to drive for many of these drivers, as we do watch GLX Cam in that Ferrari, and setting his first lap of the session. We're a fair way into this session now, and there's still quite a number of drivers that haven't been able to put a lap together. I haven't attempted one yet, so it's getting into crunch time just to get that lap time, that delta set in, to give you a better opportunity later in the session as well. So GLX Cam now towards the bus stop chicane, and in he goes, nicely done. And takes a fair bit of curve there with the DRS open to the line. It's not looking overly fast. In fact, it's going to be slowest of all comers with a 43.8. Still plenty of time left for that Ferrari to make an improvement, though, as the other Ferrari of McJammy Dodge sets the fastest lap.
Yeah, the also known as Meowsy Gaming, 141.832, currently finds himself surprisingly quite low in the championship for his standards. P5, he has had an exceptional start to his season. It's just been the consistency in the race that's let him down. I mean, he hasn't exactly been out of pace and out of luck. It's just unfortunate with some of the races and how they may have turned out. A few incidents here and there, but at the same time, he's had a podium or two, so He's shown what he can do. He just needs to put it all together, put all the puzzle pieces into the one place and have that entire artwork on display for him to show. I mean, qualifying, he's always done well, 141.832, and now ahead of Websy by not too much there. I believe that's 9 milliseconds separating P1 to P2, and just shows you how close it can get down here in IRL Tier 1. But yeah, no, McJammy Dodge has been able to show what he can do on a few occasions, just hasn't been able to put it all together, and potentially looking to do that here today in Belgium for his first race win, which he is yet to pick up.
Exactly right, and I'm looking at KLX now in the Mercedes. This is a really stacked field here in Tier 1 for Inters at the moment. It's all big snap there. It got caught on the curb, as I said. You've got to be very, very careful with these new curves in particular. They are as good as they would have hoped moment, but there's still 6 minutes left in the session as well. We'll see if KLX continues this one all the way to the end. He's used all his battery deploy as well. That's another thing you really have to think about around here in Spa. You don't want to use too much of that battery in the early parts of the lap, because then that back straight you really get hurt. But this is still pretty decent from KLX considering it's a 43.2, and as I said, yeah, the ERS management, some drivers might be finding a little bit tricky here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. P14 for the Mercedes driver isn't exactly pushing it to the limits. 43.268 needs to find a significant amount of time if he wants to get back up into that top 10. KLX not exactly a slow driver, and now on board with the Haas of Aiden Riziums in P19 as he approaches up to the top of the hill before going into the bus stop chicane. Swing it right into the corner, and also right in terms of direction, but then swing it left into the final corner, and then a 142.274 goes up to P4. Not too bad of a lap time from the Haas driver, and the American constructor will be happy with that one. Aiden continuing to see what he can do on circuit. Hasn't found any real significant points on the board, so we'll be looking to do that as we go into round 4. The championship really starting to solidify itself, and this is where drivers really need to start making a bit more of an impact before a gap starts to increase and a driver starts to pull away. And now the Ferrari of McJammy Dodge going for another lap time on a new set of these, because we are right down the middle of the Pirelli range, the C2, 3s and 4, so it is a C4 soft compound tyre, second softest in the Pirelli range, and right behind the Alpine, who can't currently identify, but getting past him going through into Blanchimont as he now comes up towards the top of the hill.
Yeah, nice little toe there from the Alpine for McJammy Dodge there, and the bus stop chicane, personally, I think one of the toughest corners on this game, the remodelled version. This is looking fantastic, a 141.4, and really blows the field away there and creates some separation between himself and Websy. I really think that toe there towards the end of the lap was very handy in giving him that extra lap time. And as we approach the end of qualifying, a few drivers starting to make their final preparations, but is anyone going to be able to knock off that time? It's a fair distance ahead of everyone else.
Well, that is not exactly the smallest deficit I have ever seen, and that is also not a lap time I don't usually get to see when we come here to Spa-Francorchamps, and McJammy Dodge absolutely smashing it out the park, a 141.459. That is incredible, and now it really becomes a question, a more rhetorical question more than anything. How can these drivers retaliate to a lap time like that by setting down something more competitive than a 141.459? Isn't exactly small margins they have to make up, and they need to really perfect every single part of this circuit around this 7.004 kilometer circuit in the Ardennes, located in northern Belgium.
That's exactly right. And is there anyone, the likes of Websy and Yusuf and Aiden as well, has shown signs during this qualifying? They've got to really just find the lap and just be in the zone. It's such a long lap around this circuit as well. You've really got to stay focused for long periods of time, but if you nail it, you really get rewarded. So that's what the drivers will be holding out some hope for. Otherwise, there is still plenty of time in the race, 22 laps, I believe, to get it done. Websy will be aiming for I'm sure of it. He's currently sitting P2 and probably pretty comfortable there at the moment, as most of the drivers now coming out on the track, they're flocking out the 20 drivers in the field, and I'm sure we'll see them all there there shortly.
Yeah, McJammy Dodge coming back into the pit lane like we said previously, setting down of a 1:41.459, but 2 minutes 12 on the clock. His qualifying has practically come to an end, or has come to an end, but not for any other driver who's now making their way out of the pit lane. You can see the tabs representing who is on the outlap. One man, however, is already pushing on, and that is Apollo Pepsi, needing to switch, avoid traffic at all costs to make sure he can maximize the lap time he can get here in qualifying. Currently making his way midway through the second sector, through on the exit, and making sure to avoid the white line on the outside, and that's where you need to just lift off the throttle to once again maximize your lap time, but also not cause yourself to invalidate by running too wide. The Red Bull now going through into the next chicane at Double Gosh, and then Les Fragnes before going to Cam at turn 14, and now Paul Ferrer at turn 15, and staying flat to the floor, pedal to metal. A bit of a slipstream in tow from the traffic that continues to kind of get out of up much time, but is getting a nice slipstream in tow. The McLaren ahead needs to make sure it doesn't end up blocking him or causing dirty air. Been a bit of air that would have forced himself to lose a bit of time, but a 1:42.2 still would be happy with that. Increases to P6.
And once again, the toes are really having a big factor here out on the track. We're going to have a quick look at the RB of Checkered Flag now, who's making their way on that long, high-speed Kemmel Straight. And we'll see what the split time is. It's slightly ahead, but is it going to be a real threat to pole position? His teammate's up in P3. That's what he'll be aiming for. And right next to his teammate in the championship, as we mentioned earlier. Looked like a bit of locking there on the inside right. And as he went downhill there. And very tricky at this part of the track, and now just fling it to the left and hope the car sticks, and look at the traction there. Lovely work. What kind of split time we've got here. We might have to have a look as McJammy Dodge in the pits has finished session now, and we'll see if anyone is going to be a reasonable threat here. Checkered Flag all got on the curb there. I think that's going to hurt him a little bit.
No, absolutely. Now entering into the third and final sector. Purple apparently more like a personal improvement for the V-Carb in P9. 1:42.534 is where he currently sits. More drive. Slowly but surely approaching up to the Checkered Flag. We have a Red Bull ahead of the V-Carb, who will now come across the Checkered Flag, and that is the Red Bull of Mr. Cool Cars, staying in P12 of 42.953. But what can Checkered Flag do? Just a little bit of swivel on the rear there, but up to P3 of 42.118. He'll be happy with that one, but how can his teammate use in the kick, now staying down to 42.218 in P5, as more and more drivers slowly but surely stack up across that Checkered Flag and finish up here in qualifying. It has been 18 minutes of high-packed action, and it is Aiden Riziums who goes up to P3 in the Haas. It is still Jamie McDodge who holds provisional pole for the time being, a 41.459. No one's been able to beat him out for the time being. What about Websy in time? Bus stop chicane, DRS active. It's gonna be a 41.641, 2/10 on the dot. It's an improvement, but it's not enough, and I can only guarantee that slipstream in tow that Dodge picked up would have given him the biggest advantage of all time, because with everyone rather back into the pit lane or across the Checkered Flag, it is Meowsy or Jamie McDodge on pole position.
Yeah, that lap was just really unflappable. Despite Websy's best efforts, just wasn't enough to get there. Yusuf has also picked up a 5-place grid penalty, so we didn't see where that happened, and Finn's set that lap right at the end to move him up to P9, but still a little bit out of position for where he would expect to be, given his championship position.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Unfortunate for Yusuf, who will now start P10 on the grid, and, I mean, much more, let's say, further away from his teammate than he was probably expecting to be. Checkered flag may have been a helping hand in making some positions up. Also, need to consider the independent fight that they would have had, and I need to scroll down before someone yells at me for not looking through the entire results there, but we got through down to P20, and 20 drivers on the grid, 20 drivers ready to go racing. And we are just waiting now for these 5 beaming red lights to show what type of action we can have on display.
Yeah, it's going to be a really exciting race here, and I really don't know who's going to pull this one out. Websy has been looking quick, but not as quick as the man in P1 at the moment. So he's got a challenge on his hands, and then we've got a few drivers a little bit lower down the field as well, who have some work to do, a little bit out of position compared to where they'd want to be, and obviously a little bit of a shorter race in Spa as well, one of the shorter ones that we go to in this calendar, just 22 laps.
22 laps, but an average time of 1:58 is actually what it usually comes down to. Also considering lap times that we saw previously on from previous tiers, but maybe a little faster pace when it comes to Tier 1. We will have to wait and see. Websy on P1 in pole position, currently waiting on the left-hand side of the grid. And it is McLaren who controls this pace, defending that outside line. Everyone starting to hold their breath. The pit crew stretched ready for any type of emergency pit stop that may come into fruition. But it's going to be for 5 red lights. The lights go out, and it's Pelter Medal here for Belgium in IRL, and it's actually Dodge for saying Websy on pole position. McLaren now in P2, looking to try. And the Scuderia prancing on, and the prancing horses will stay in P1 for the time being. V-Carb in P4, checkered flag, signed to apply the pressure as they go up to the top of Eau Rouge and through it into turn 2 and 3 before going into Radion. And if you can continue with the momentum, you can get a great run through onto the Camel Straight. Here comes checkered flag, and also look at the McLaren of Websy, wheel to wheel between the midfield and front end of the pack, and it is Websy on the outside line going into Lacombe Chicane, takes the lead of the Belgium Grand to follow in close pursuit. Checkered flag now goes up to P3, scraping with the curd. It's now Aiden Riziums who sends it back down the inside. Haas gets an opportunity. He takes it then because checkered flag using the outside to get the throttle down a little quicker and does it effectively and efficiently, with Apollo Pepsi now losing out on multiple positions. Had a bad exit going through into No Name Corner. Now down to P11. Racing well and truly underway here in Spa.
A bowl there down the straight from Websy to take the lead straight away. It's exactly the start for a couple of things as well. Shawnee and the other McLaren is right at the back. It's a big McLaren sandwich at the moment. He had a spin, and also Frosty has got a bit of end plate damage, so a nightmare start for Frosty, who's currently P3 in the championship. That's really going to hurt. I wonder if he's going to bite the bullet and come into the pits, or try and just hold out as long as he possibly can. But yeah, Websy now holding that lead for 4/10 at this moment. Farmer Sam's had a bit of a moment there, and he's spun around now, and he's just saved. But that is cost him a lot of positions there, and big trouble there off the start as well as we move back to the lead. And as Apollo Pepsi as well is falling down the field wheel to wheel with Yusuf towards Eau Rouge. This could get a little bit nasty. Thankfully, they've all sorted themselves out there. And Apollo, because McJammy Dodge with the DRS on lap 2, flies back past and reclaims that pole position that he held on the previous lap.
1 lap less for you to activate that DRS rear wing to open, and now it is Websy who falls back down to P2. Had the momentum and had the slipstream in tow on turn 1 all the way to Lacombe Chicane, but on this occasion now falls back down to P2. McLaren continuing this hunt back for the, not only race lead, but more points for his championship lead. Aiden Riziums in P5, 3.5 tenths off SDE Blicky, and the gap sign to come down and more just stake in consistent throughout the field. Everyone's going to have to eventually get into their own mindset, into their own space. Just consider driving at the pace that they know they can. Consider the tyre wear, the tyre temps. Make sure they can manage things to the best of their ability and still find that opportunity to make a move here and there and just get themselves into the right mindset. Right now, Yusuf in P11, V-Carb 2.5 down, 3.5 tenths off the Aston Martin Baston, getting onto the grass there. Cade McIntyre in P10, losing a little bit of time out, and Yusuf from what was his original position, he's now one position lower than that, and that 5-place grid penalty not helping him in any shape or form. A mixture of the mediums and soft compound tyres can be seen in Farmer Sam going up to P14, fighting away with Riz WRC.
Yeah, exactly right. And the top two have now broken away from checkered flag in terms of the DRS range. He's going to try and get back in there desperately. But as we look a little bit further down, it's the Alpine who's having troubles, I believe. And Frosty as well is battling Farmer Sam. A huge clump of cars here from about P13 downwards, and this could get very tight as well. Frosty with the DRS. Remember, he is carrying some damage, so he's going to have a little bit less downforce than usual, and he is going to try and make that move down. Farmer Sam breaks really late, and he's just managed to keep it on there, I think, and nicely done. And wheel to wheel just behind as well as Cool Cars, and he has dipped his car into the gravel. And in the meantime as well, Shawnee at the back has also got end plate damage, which is a shame for him. And as you can look back up to the front here, it's the top two are starting to break away.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Websy in P2, now breaking a 1-second deficit to P3 of checkered flag, and the DRS will not be effective past that margin. So V-Carb needs to consider how they can try and bring back down that gap. Also, DRS against the driver who has no DRS. He does have clean air when it comes to aerodynamic advantage, and right now you can see the Hassa Frosty Oz 4 tenths behind. That's obviously referring to that midfield fight we were seeing, the clump of cars as you referred it to, going up towards Eau Rouge, just starting to break away as well. But let's make our way a little higher up towards P2 and P1. Websy currently in P2, trying to bring himself closer towards the Scuderia of McJammy Dodge in Ferrari, but P1 has it pretty much sealed off for the time being. But this is where you get all that momentum, the sway of top speed in your favor, and if you have DRS, it just increases your opportunity to make a move going into Lacombe Chicane. McLaren can stay flat to the floor through the entirety of Eau Rouge, through into Radion and onto the Camel Straight. He has the slipstream in tow, he has the DRS outside line, no problems at all, and McLaren back up into P1 and now back into the race lead, giving himself even more opportunity to score more points in the championship. McLaren continuing this fight with the Ferrari.
Yep, and is this the time where these two leaders sort of decide to help each other out a little bit and pull away from the rest of the field? It seems like that's what they're doing at the moment, and now the race has just sort of cooled off a little bit, it's time to really start thinking about the strategy. Most of the drivers have started on the softs. There's a few in there on the mediums. No one is running the hard compound at the moment, and it should just be a soft to medium or medium to soft strategy. But I think these two are just going to have a few strategic overtakes just to help pull each other along with the DRS and try and pull away from Blicky and Checkered Flag, who are eagerly awaiting any mistake that might. And Rizium's getting really racy over the last lap or so. They came together a little bit at the bus stop chicane last lap. There's a I believe that is Mr. Cool Cars in the Red Bull. And looks like he's gotten going again, but all the way down in dead last. So that's a real for them. And you can see this pack that's being led by Blicky, and it's almost every car down to Yusuf, who's in this little train, and then Frosty as well, who's still carrying that damage, hasn't decided to pit. And Cade McIntyre down the inside to turn one makes a nice move on Apollo Pepsi, but Apollo Pepsi trying to come back underneath, can't quite do it, and now Cool Cars coming into the pits has spared in the pit lane, which is not going to help his cause at all.
Yeah, no, you mentioned strategy with the softs and mediums. Dodge back up into P1. The Ferrari continuing this tussle for position with Websy. We go to Tyler FF in the Aston Martin in P5. Down the inside going into Lacombe Chicane. Already had the position in his favour. And by the time they exit out of the chicane, using the momentum and the right-hand corner to sway your car into it before before going back down the hill towards the hairpin at Brussels, which is also turn 8. Aston Martin in P5. Now, strategy-wise, softs and mediums. If you're on the soft compound tyres, you could see yourself boxing a little early on those medium compound tyres. If you're feeling confident and you're feeling good about your tyres, you could push it more than maybe lap 12, but probably not much further than that at least. Anywhere between lap 8 to 12 is what my notes are saying. And McLaren, Websy, P9, P10, he's lost positions. VSC's been deployed. What's happened to him? He must have been racing away with Dodge, or he made a mistake getting over... Case may be, the British constructor now down into the top 10.
I think it had to be a spin there for Websy. You can see he's lost all his wing. It doesn't look like Dodge was involved in that, so I think he's done that on his own volition, and what a moment that is. Very early on in the race, you don't really expect that, especially from someone leading the championship. So Websy just facing a little bit of pressure and now has to have that wing change, and that's going to put him right dead last in the field, and a lot of drivers are now streaming in under this VSC.
Well, the whole point I was making about strategy now becoming practically invalid, but no, this is still a good point. Now with VSC deployed on lap 5, anyone that's on the softs going to the mediums, anyone on the mediums practically would be going most likely to the hards. The softs are just going to degrade too quickly for it to be a practical choice for yourself. So anyone on the softs may be finding a slight advantage out of this. The hard pace later into their stint. VSC deployed for the time being, but green flag shouldn't be too far away. Saucity in the Mercedes goes up to P2. Dodge stays out, actually, and now the soft compound runner is still leading this race, but now has the disadvantage of tyres. So I do wonder what may be the choice for him later into this race, and currently sticking with what he had previously, or maybe just feeling as if he can pull away and create a gap so he can overcut the rest of the field. We'll have to wait and see. Shawnee, the teammate to Websy, has been the second driver time and time again. We saw that actually in a perfect example at the Bahrain endurance round, but this time round will be leading the McLaren pack and needs to show by example. Currently defending against Blicky in P6, and the Kick Sauber trying to apply some pressure from the team from Woking, England.
Yeah, this VSC is really shaking up the race here a little bit. Shawnee under extreme pressure, still carrying front wing damage. Both him and Frosty haven't decided to change it, and there's a little bit of a three-car battle forming here. And Finns has had a great fight back in this race as well, back up to 10th, and has done their pit stop. So we'll see what Websy can do to come back as well down in 16th. But yeah, this has hurt the Ferrari quite a bit. He's got a 4-second buffer, and I think it's just under a pit stop, the gap to Blicky, who's in provisional P2 at the moment. This has worked out really well, but he does need to get past Shawnee here sooner rather than later, because every moment he's behind is losing time to the lead. And Shawnee just able to hold off the Kick Sauber here. And with DRS now down towards turn 1, Blicky's got to play this strategically. And yeah, he's staying behind because he knows Shawnee's just going to get him back down that long straight, and it's getting tight here. A lot of drivers just queuing up on new tyres, and now Blicky desperate here. You can see just shunting him along the road almost, and now Shawnee feeling the heat, feeling the pressure, but Blicky can finally move to the outside and have a go. But look at checkered flag as well, and he could make the double overtake here in the V car, and Tyler as well, but it's Blicky just hanging on to that, and checkered flag staying behind. It would have been a very risky attempt. The Kick Sauber now free to chase after the drivers in front, and what a great position he's in.
The pressure has clearly never been higher here in Belgium, and it was a fantastic DRS train, but it's clear to see these drivers on the fresher tyres don't want to be battling and straddling themselves in the midfield positions. They know they have the pace, and they know they have the quicker tyre, finding themselves overtaking too early and then being re-overtaken down straight is not an option they can go for. But now they have their own battle on their hands. Blicky, checkered flag, Tyler, all on a new set of medium compound tyres, and by the time they reach back round through from La Source in turn 1 all the way to Lacombe chicane, up towards the top of the hill at the highest peak of Belgium, they'll be fighting away once again with DRS. So it really is going to be a bit of a tussle here, and they don't really need it. because that's just going to lose the time out to the drivers behind. But Aston Martin on the outside line, Tyler not wasting any further time, using the curb to maximize the circuit. Apollo Pepsi leaving the session. I'll see if I can get him back in very, very soon. But now look at the Aston Martin DRS active. Riz WRC going up into the top 3, but on degraded tyres, 7 laps old. And from Blicky behind, they will be looking to try and cut down more time as it continues to proceed along here. But look at the Aston Martin, Tyler with a good slipstream in tow. And now as we make our way up towards the famous, well-known Eau Rouge here at Spa-Francorchamps, it's Aston Martin with the biggest opportunity. But is it checkered flag? He's going to come back from a little bit further away, uses the opportunity, use that momentum, can't make it a double overtake, but he did think about it, stays behind the Aston Martin in P6.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of just a friendly truce between these three at the moment. They know they could be the podium finishers if they play this right. I'm just keeping an eye on tyre degradation as well. McJamie Dodge out in front, 38% those soft tyres. They don't have a whole lot of juice left in them, so he's got to really work hard to pull back that gap, because he's not going to pit and come back out into the lead. And we're also going to keep an eye on how these medium tyres develop for the drivers that have just put them on compared to the hard tyres. There's a number of drivers on those hards also, and if you were running the mediums to start, you would have not been happy with that early VSC and the outcome it's caused here. But in the meantime, they've caught up to Apollo Pepsi, who I don't think's in the race. Hopefully he doesn't cause too many issues here for this pack of 3. And checkered flag now is getting really close to Tyler again. Are we going to see another move into the bus stop chicane? Possibly. We've seen a few occur here already, particularly by the Aston Martin of Tyler. But just staying behind for the moment as Riz WRC in the Alpine finally comes into pit, and he is just sped up into the line there with a 10-second penalty. And another driver gets whacked with a pit lane penalty.
Yeah, not a necessity that you would want to rely on. Unfortunately, the Alpine now falling down to the back of the field, or at least more towards the back end of the field, down in P17 now, where he should most likely come back out. Apollo Pepsi rejoining, and the Red Bull can get going back on the pace we saw previously. Checkered flag, though, outside line, goes flat to the floor, pedal to the metal, and uses that pace and the aerodynamic advantage that he's seeing. Tyler as well looking towards it, but Blicky as well, down in P5. He's trying to come back towards them, using that DRS and the momentum you come out from Eau Rouge and Radeon. Couldn't do it on that occasion and still stays in P5, but closing down on that gap indeed. You can see the Aston Martin of Tyler still right with the V-carb in P3, and checkered flag doing a fantastic job defending and re-attacking every single time they make their way around this fantastic circuit. First Grand Prix held 1950. Racing around here, and Apollo Pepsi, oh no, and clearly wasn't in the correct mindset for racing. Unfortunately, has now retired from the race, and that wasn't in the pit lane. Will that be a safety car? Are we going to go back to green flag running?
Yeah, that was a little bit weird there, because I didn't see the car at all on the track, so there must have been some sort of issue there. But the top 2 have come into the pits. McJamie Dodge, so we'll see what this pit stop's like. He's done a stellar job on those soft tyres. He's not going to come out too far behind that pack of 3 that we've been watching so eagerly so far. But the question is, can he get out in front of the likes of Aiden Riziums and Finns and Shawnee? If he's able to those, he could be in really good position here for this race, but it's going to be close here as Aiden Riziums coming around turn 1, and he has cleared them. And what a great position this Ferrari's in. New tyres, and he's not far behind that front 3 at all.
Yeah, no, that has gone significantly worse than probably Haas wanted it to go. He wanted to get ahead of the Ferrari of McJamie Dodge, but clearly that little bit longer out on circuit served them well. I mean, he was losing out on time, but clearly not enough to lose him too many positions. He's on a new set of the medium compound tyres. He was going to be on the disadvantage originally, and he didn't box under VSC conditions, but now boxing, he's going to be on a new C2 medium compound tyres, and C3 medium compound tyres, and will have the advantage in terms of traction and grip, and already 2.3 seconds off SD Blicky in P3. He's already starting to bring down that gap and show his pace and show his hand of cards. Right now, checkered flag still in P2, 4/10 off Tyler FF in P1 in the Aston Martin, and right now, like you mentioned, just starting to help each other out, use DRS to try and pull away from what is a clearly much faster Ferrari starting to approach upon him, and give them, well, probably not what they want, and that is a loss in position.
Yeah, an incredible run on those soft tyres from McJamie Dodge there, with all the odds stacked against him out of that VSC, but also Websy has made an incredible fight back here, all the way down from last to P6 on the same age tyres as the front runners. So while the win might be a little bit out of reach here, the podium is well and truly on here, and this McLaren has really entered the zone on these new medium tyres.
Well, he needed to. The McLaren lost out on a lot of positions from that mistake that he made out of the exit of Les Fragnes chicane, and he's come back and he's done well. He's in P6 and he's showing his consistency and pace that we've seen time and time again. A man that seems to be just on absolute prime form, and he's done that once again on this occasion. P6 where he stands, and these drivers in the top three continue to try and help each other out with DRS 1.8 from the Ferrari behind, so it's clearly helping them out, and continue to try and pull away from a, like I said, aggressive and returning McJamie Dodge to the front end of the field.
That Ferrari is really just stalking that pack here. And Blicky's getting really close to checkered flag. There's a bit of a snap for Tyler as well, so maybe a little bit of mistakes. They see the Ferrari in their rearview mirror. It's causing some issues here because he's just gained 8/10 in those past couple corners. So this has been a really good run. There's a yellow, I think, Alpine facing the wrong way of K5 here. And thankfully, I don't think anyone else was caught up in that. And yeah, a big shame for that Alpine. But now look at the front pack. It's McJamie Dodge in the DRS range. And it's going to be really 3 versus 1 here. I think a bit of teamwork is going to be employed by the front three to try and stop this Ferrari. A
perfect example of needing to use the DRS to the fullest extent, but guess who else is now in the DRS inside that 1 second deficit, and that is the Ferrari of McJamie Dodge, and he's used it to perfection. Blicky now going on the outside line. Is he going to go for a double overtake here? SDE Blicky back up in a P1, through into the bus stop chicane, a fantastic move, who now sees himself back up into the race lead. But does it really matter, because you have a Ferrari looking to hunt you down and lose positions for yourself and gain it for himself, and once again also gain valuable, very valuable key championship points that he needs for him to fight once again with Websy and Finns, who currently find themselves in P1 and P2. The Ferrari hasn't had the best of luck, but maybe on this occasion he can have all the luck in the world. Oh my god, the Ferrari on the outside line goes up to P3, checkered flag goes up to P1, and now it's getting messy. It becomes anyone and everyone's game. Whoever ends up on top is the winner out of this.
You always got the feeling they were going to go 4 wide there. I was on board the Ferrari, and Cade McIntyre out in the pits, it looks like, as Yusuf and K5 both in the pits as well. So, yeah, this is really getting spicy here. I think a few drivers in this front group getting a bit selfish now, wanting the positions for themselves, and this front group of 4 is followed by a group of 5 that's led by Websy, which he just can't break away from, and it's hurting him in terms of time, because this front group has got supreme pace at the moment. But how are they going to be able to keep this Ferrari out of range? It is going to be difficult for McJamie Dodge here to outrun 3 cars with DRS. It just doesn't matter how new your tyres are, so it's going to be a real test here.
Whenever you're on a tyre, especially if you're on it for a longer period of time, that PSI starts to drop, and that overall traction and grip that you originally had starts to fall away from you. In this case, Dodge in P3, still in that prime area zone. That means when you get onto a straight itself, even if there's no corners, even if you can't make the best from the exit of a corner, you can still find yourself finding a higher top speed due to the fact that your tyres aren't starting to die out a little bit further, and also due to the air pressure. Right now, P3 of Ferrari, a 1/10 and a half here, and I have a very bad feeling this is going to go wrong here. Ferrari with DRS as we reach the top of the hill onto Radion. Ferrari's going to go to the outside line. Aston on the inside. It's 3 wide on the Camel straight, and V-Carb is a sitting duck, and Ferrari in a moment's notice does a double overtake and back up into the race lead. McJammy Dodge gets the job done, and into P1 he absolutely swifts by into.
That was absolutely beautiful. The speed was just unmatched there, but this half a lap, it could be the most important half a lap for McJammy Dodge here. He needs to get away, and it looks like he's going to. 8 tenths all the way up here. Is pulled away about 6 tenths just in this set of corners, now up to 9 tenths. If it gets above a second, it could be curtains for everyone else's race win opportunity here. Tyler desperately trying to hold on, but it looks like McJammy Dodge is going to run away with this one, and he got away from that front 3 pack, and now he has just got to keep it nice and tidy as Websy picks up a 3 second. That's going to hurt his opportunities as well, but McJammy Dodge, fantastic.
Bad to worse for the McLaren driver in P5, 4.8 seconds behind, and with a 3-second time penalty, he's clearly getting frustrated. He wants to be closer towards that pack. He's on the same level of degradation as the drivers ahead, at least from P2, 3, and 4. And in P5, he's looking to try and make up time, and due to try and push so hard, he's now going over that white line and causing himself time, and also causing himself penalties towards his name. Finns, currently in P2, at least for the time being, may not even stand that way by the end of the Belgium Grand Prix. Currently in P6, and it's still neck and neck between the championship leader and P2. Still 6.5 tenths. It's not exactly close, but he's sticking with them for the time being, and Websy has, like I mentioned, gone bad to worse in his favour. His Kick now looking to go on the inside line. Blicky continuing this attack against the top 3.
Yeah, lovely move there by Blicky back into the podium positions, and I think these 3 now battling for second. McJammy Dodge looking a little bit too quick, and the tyre comparison here, McJammy Dodge 13% mediums, and then it's Checkered Flag and Blicky on 23%, Tyler 26%. So you can see almost double the wear in terms of percentage, and that is really going to impact their ability to chase him down. And the Ferrari has just got to keep it clean. Don't make a mistake. Websy was that one who made the mistake that's hurt his race and really opened it up for the Ferrari driver, who started on pole and is taken a stranglehold over this race. But now we turn our attention to the 2 big clumps of cars that are in the top 10 at the moment. Who's going to be able to find a way through is Websy. He's still hanging on to the front of that pack. How much longer will it be for, though, with 8 laps to go?
Yeah, he's more holding it up than starting to pull away here, and the McLaren will not get the race result that he's probably imagining in his head. It's been a disappointing one for our championship leader. He would have wanted a better result. It won't come in fruition today, but he will look to try and score the max amount of points that he possibly can. Drivers, as you mentioned, in a big clump of cars trying to apply that pressure, and the Ferrari of GLX Cam making a slight mistake. Green flag running, though, seems to have got going once again, and we have a reason, by the way, on why Cade McIntyre originally retired, staying closely on board with Blicky here in P3, and we'll come back to that reason as the Kick Sauber looking to try and line up a move against the Aston Martin, and like we mentioned, every single time on the Camel Straight, a sitting duck uses the DRS around into Lacombe chicane, and no problems at all. But Cade McIntyre had that problem and retired from the race due to having no wing, and looked as if he got spun as well, and caused himself to retire due to not feeling as if he could come back through the field. Yusuf Goat 143.911 for V-Carb, fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, real shame for Cade McIntyre. He's having a good race as well in those points-paying positions. But as Websy has been overtaken by Finns here, this is where it's going to get interesting, because there's a few hard tyre runners in this pack. Is there going to be a crossover where the hards become a little bit quicker than the mediums? Just looking at the tyre percentages, we've got Websy on 29%, but Finns and Aiden Rizium's on the hards 16% wear. Wow. So it's a lot better. And are those hards about to become quicker than the mediums? Williams, and does this spell a bit of trouble for Websy and maybe even the medium tyre runners of Blicky, Tyler, and Checkered Flag as well.
I mentioned this earlier with the soft compound runners at the very beginning of this race when they switched over to the hard compound tyres when VSC was deployed. Quite simply, if they're able to keep it in the right tyre temp window, don't degrade it too quickly, don't over push yourself, just get yourself into the right mindset, look after the tyres, conserve yourself, then you can get it working perfectly near towards the end of this race, and clearly that's what they're doing. And as we can also see, Websy now losing position to Finn's already Checkered Flag as well. He's now in P4. Frosty Oz now up into P10 against the moving Saucity in the Mercedes, and still this clump of cars in the midfield continuing to fight away, but right near towards the front of the field, Tyler FF and the Aston Martin making a swift move back upon Blicky, who originally overtook him.
Yeah, back into P2 for Tyler. And I just want to keep an eye. Websy has got that spot back, but is this pack going to be making up a little bit of time with the hard tyres? Is going to be a really interesting one to look at. It's still hanging around 4 seconds, but that top three is still showing really good pace, and obviously with the DRS assistance, that is going to play a big role as well. But Finn's, Aiden, and KLX on the hard tyres. And as we look a little bit further down, the field is very spread here across the rest of the field. Frosty is chasing down Soutsy in the Mercedes for 10th place, but nothing doing. Still carrying that wing damage right from the start of the race. So I'm not sure how much that is hurting his lap times at all. As we make our way around again, and Tyler with a decent gap to Blicky, but it's not going to be enough, and I assume we're going to see a couple more DRS overtakes.
Yeah, definitely starting to slow down in terms of the action on circuit. Aiden Rizium's going up to P6 against the Williams. Good will to action, however, and the Williams on the outside line will sneak it back up the inside. Haas will get the throttle down a little quicker on the outside line of the final part of that chicane. Will to will as they get towards into turn 1 at La Source. Haas sending it down the inside, locking his front tyres, trying to defend against the Williams. Williams just tucking it into the inside line and continuing to abreast here. And just as I mentioned how action was slowing down, it speeds up all over again. Oh my god, will to will up towards Eau Rouge. Contact made. Oh, Williams of Finns, the man in P2 in the championship, now losing out quite significantly there. Unfortunately, contact made with the Mercedes, and now finds himself down in P11. It was so good and great action on display until it wasn't, and starts to fall away for him. Is not gone in the favour of the Williams driver, but I was going to mention how this race is going to become a bit more of a strategic and we say that with Mercedes running onto the grass and contact made for Aiden Riziums.
Yeah, 2 into 1 on through Eau Rouge, and Radion doesn't go, unfortunately, and found out the hard way, did Finn's there. But it's interesting also, the Constructors' Championship, not really any teams having, obviously with that spin there, they're running 11th and 15th, that's not going to help them at all. McLaren not having a great day either, 5th and 13th. RB in 3rd place in the championship have 4th and fortunately for Finns, who was making
Currently on board with the Mercedes KLX, obviously the driver that actually had a double contact last lap. First with the Williams of Finns, who now comes into the pit lane, and I really do hope it isn't a retirement for him. Still points are on display here, and ST Blicky now up into P2, 5.4 off Dodge in P1, and his tyres are just in such better condition in comparison to any who are on the mediums, apart from Yusuf, who's down in P16.